Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a ton to get into. I mean, strap in, folks. For the next 90 minutes, you are going to be entertained. We originally had 3 topics. I have now scaled it back to 2. But trust me when I tell you, they're meaty. And the first one, folks, is one of disappointment. I am a bit taken aback simply because, as you have been following me for many, many years, you understand that one of my favorite places to get news from is VGC. And that is run by former developer Andy Robinson. He is the lead voice over there. He put out an article today, folks, that it's a bit shocking to me, and I have some thoughts. I'm going to read to you exactly what he said that made me go, but I want to thank immediately some of the people that, let me just get into it right here, who responded to it. Jez Corden, of course, responded to it, and I'm very happy that he did, because he did. Jez Corden talked about it, and we also have. Let me see. Let me just get the correct. Tom Warren of The Verge also responded to what he had to say, and it's breaking news. And as you would expect, you're going to get big opinions. We're going to be very forceful with those opinions. We're going to be of course, we're going to be logical with them. And we're going to be very fair. I like Andy Robinson a lot. I think this time he got it wrong. And again, it's his opinion. I don't think Andy's a bad dude. In fact, I really do dig VGC. It's one of my favorite news sites to get gaming news from. And they're usually spot on great. This is where I kind of think Andy got it wrong. But again, it's his opinion, folks. And we're going to talk about it. But before we do, let's welcome in Web Dave. First of all, brother, it is so glad. I'm so glad to have you back here. How you feeling, man? Welcome.
I'm feeling good, man. Thank you so much. Sorry I had to be away the other day, but things sometimes happen, and family first. But man, I'm here and I'm ready to roll today, and I'm so glad that we got Fuzzy in the house. Fuzzy gonna drop some knowledge today.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's also going to drop some salt, as he's been known to do in past conversations. And this is going to be a fun show. We're going to talk about what was reported upon. And this comes the way of an interview that Phil Spencer did regarding the ABK deal. Listen, again, as we continue to go through the month, this is the last 2 days of February. March 23rd will be here before you know it. That is when the CMA is supposed to levy their judgment on whether or not they're going to block the deal. I personally still think the deal is going through with concessions. I don't think that they're going to cut the company in pieces. I don't think they can. And I think that the way it was explained by the CMA is that if enough evidence or a good reason why you can't cut this company to pieces to sell off Call of Duty to then make it not a concern for the industry. I mean, first of all, who do you sell it to? Do you want to sell to Sony? Sure, let's give the market leader Call of Duty. Why not? Right? EA isn't going to buy it. Take-Two isn't going to buy it. Who do you then sell it to? Do you sell it to Tencent? Do you sell it to Amazon? Do you sell it to Google? So their request of originally, of cutting the company to pieces does not make any sense. I think Microsoft made that clear. And one of the things that came to mind immediately, at least for me, is, okay, so let's say for hypothetical thoughts, you do cut off Call of Duty. Who goes with that? Does all 8 studios go with that? Does Infinity Ward go with that? Do we just say, okay, no, what we're keeping the studios, you take the IP, you sell it for $1 bazillion and whatever? I don't understand. To me, it's confusing and confusing in a way that I don't understand how they're asking for this. But again, that's not the topic of the day. We will know soon enough. And I think that what happened last week with the EU Commission and what was said, how it was spoken, how it was broken down, made perfect sense. And I think that everyone is going to come to an agreement of some sorts, even if it levies different concessions. I think the concessions that Microsoft are offering are phenomenal, and I think that as gamers, we all win when this deal finally goes through. But Fuzzy Belvedere, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back.
Well, I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Glad we got Web Dave back here. Man, just these PlayStation fans posing as journalists, just can't make this stuff up. But man, we got a lot to get into. Let's do this.
Yeah, you know what? Let's break down what happened. Okay, so moments ago, at 1:12 p.m., which is, I believe, a different time zone because it's not East Coast, because we're just 5 minutes after 12 here. This was on the 27th of February, which obviously is today. VGC posted a new article, and it's titled, "Phil Spencer says Xbox will exist even if Activision Blizzard deal is blocked." And he has a quote from Phil Spencer: "It's not some linchpin to long-term Xbox." Now, the reason why this is why I'm assuming he's gonna be under fire for this, and I'm not even sure if he's gonna pull it down. In my opinion, he should. But here is what head of VGC had to say about Phil Spencer's comments, and I quote: "Regardless of Phil Spencer's words, I know a lot of industry pundits think Microsoft selling off Xbox is a genuine possibility should this deal be blocked." And he says in quotes, "I still expect it to go through with concessions." Now, listen, he knows a lot of people, and he has VGC, and like I said, folks, it's one of my favorite places. It's still one of my favorite places to get my daily gaming news. I trust them. I still trust Andy, though I will admit I think that he got it wrong here. It is his opinion. I want you to say this right up front. Please don't go attack this dude. You want to have a conversation with him, have a conversation with Andy. He will speak back with you. He's a good dude like that. But this is where I kind of think he got it wrong. So who responds? One of the best in the business, Tom Warren of The Verge. Tom says this: "Not sure who these industry pundits are, but they are clearly clueless. You don't strategically acquire Mojang and Bethesda and then form a Microsoft Game Studios if you're going to sell off Xbox's business if your giant $69 billion deal doesn't go through." And Andy responded, and he says, "Capitalism has proven time and again that conventional logic really doesn't matter much if the graph doesn't point up enough. I don't expect it to happen, but I can say with authority that some important people do." Okay, so that's what his response was. Well, Jez Corden, good friend of this program, great friend of this community, he says this in response to Andy's original quote: "There is absolutely zero possibility of this happening during Satya and Phil's tenure." And Satya Nadella, head of Microsoft, head of Xbox Gaming, Phil Spencer, we know that they've already played their cards. They're in it to win it. They're in it to go from number 3 or 4 to eventually number 1. But they don't actually even care about the number. You know what they care about besides the money, folks? I mean, it's a business. Let me just say this: I'm not a boob. I understand they got to make their investors happy. So let's not forget that this is a business. But at the end of the day, when Satya Nadella and Phil Spencer get out there and they talk about the people, us, the consumers, I honestly believe they genuinely care about delivering the best content, delivering it at an affordable price, and allowing for every financial station to be a part of gaming. Folks, I want you to understand this. I come from extremely humble beginnings, and there were times where we only got a game for a birthday. That's why I started working when I was like 11 or 12 years old, delivering penny savers here in the Bronx, because I needed that extra cash for GI Joe specifically, but more so for games. Because, Pop was a blue-collar dude. Mom stayed home. There's only one salary. So, you know what? Birthdays, occasionally we get a special gift from Pop, but the money wasn't there. I love what Xbox does for this gaming community. It allows for every financial station, whether you're making six figures or making $30,000 a year, to be a part, or more specifically, maybe it's not even for you. If you're a parent or you're a godparent, or you have nieces and nephews, or even neighbors that you care about, right? You want to have the best for them. And you know something? As a parent, there's nothing more magical than seeing your little one, whether it be your nephew, your niece, whoever, involved in a game that they don't have to worry about how to pay for that game. That's what Xbox does, folks. And that's why this conversation is important to me. So I'm going to go first to Dave. Dave, I was a little taken aback by this. Like I said, I have an unbelievable amount of respect for Andy Robinson and what they do over there. This is his opinion. He has heard from pundits. You can't. That's what he's saying. So that's what I'm going to go with. But I think look, there are some things, folks, that you don't put to print. I think this is one of them. I think to suggest that Xbox is going to take their bull and go home, meaning Microsoft is going to be like, you know what, Xbox, you suck. Bye, and cut them off at the ankles is, I don't know, man. I don't want to get insulting because, like I said, it's his opinion. I think he's wrong. Let's get what you have to think about it, man.
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre statement. Because they kind of backed him into the corner, and that's, you could tell it's intentionally what they were trying to do. Like with, what are you going to do if this happens? And he's like, well, Xbox is still going to be around. We're still going to continue to compete, and we're going to still continue to be in the gaming universe. It's not like they're closing up shop tomorrow. That's not going to happen, and the deal is going to go through. But they're and probably as it gets closer and closer to being finalized and through, that they're pulling at headlines because they want to try and create the buzz to their sites, and that's really what it feels like in this statement. And Tom Warren was definitely on the mark to call him out for that. It's ridiculous, man. There's no way. All right, hypothetically, say that the regulators in a certain segment said no, can't go here. Well, Microsoft has a lot of options, even if there's an area that they can't appeal. Okay, then they can actually choose not to sell that product in that territory.
That is correct. They could logistically do what I just said. And again, it is. Let's understand what you're saying here.
Yeah,
it is a nuclear thought, right? This is a scorched earth thought.
Yeah.
They could logistically now. And again, folks, just for us to understand.
Yeah.
Yes, that part of Europe is big, but it only equates to about 6%.
Yep.
Of Call of Duty sales. And I think Microsoft might be in a position where they're like, okay, so you know what we're going to do? We're going to acquire them. We're just not selling Call of Duty here. And that is a possibility. Is it a scorched earth possibility? Sure. Do they want to do that? No. I think the concessions say that they want this to go through so everyone wins. Yep. Government wins, they win, and the people win.
Boom. I tell you one thing, though. When that happens, if it hypothetically did happen, who are the who are the people that live in that district going to be mad at? Are they going to be mad?
They're not going to be mad at Microsoft. That is for sure.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Because if they can't sell it on their platform in that way, there's no platform in that territory that can get it. In other words, all those PlayStations won't be getting it either in that territory if they decide to play hardball.
Yes,
I don't think it's ever going to get that way.
No, I don't think so either.
But and they're going to keep pushing to try and get the best quote unquote concessions they can. But in the big terms, like, can they do it? Technically, yes. Would they do it? I don't think so, because there's really no precedent stand or everybody looking at this deal. that has a clear head knows that there's nothing wrong with this deal and there's nothing illegal. There's nothing that is going to be controlling the market or destroying other companies if this deal goes through. It's just not going to happen. So,
Right.
yeah, it's to me, it's really, yeah, it's man. I know a lot of people are saying this too, but I'll be so glad when this is done and we can look back at this and
Dude,
go,
I
remember?
cannot wait for this to be done, just so we can just move on to talking about something else. Real quick, I do want to shout out Stuff Sean, because he did make a point, and it's I guess I led by emotion. The deal does state that in order for it to go through, it does need approvals from the three bigs: the FTC, the CMA, and EU Commission. He's correct in saying so. So the scorched earth thing, could it happen? I don't know if it could, because they'd have to rewrite the deal. I don't know if they would do that. So that's good on you, Stuff Sean, for the heads up, because you're absolutely right. They did say that initially that they needed the big three. But look, at the end of the day, I want to reel this back in, and I want to talk about the potential of Xbox being sold off, because I think that is preposterous at best. I don't see the kind of investment that Microsoft has made. Listen, okay, their last quarter wasn't great, right? It was actually fell short, and they knew that was going to happen, because they didn't have any real first party games, right? Obviously, that hurt them in a lot of the ways. But to suggest that Microsoft isn't making money off just two services, an Xbox Live Gold and Xbox Game Pass, is ridiculous. I think that they are making more money than in a quarter than some companies make in an entire 12-month period. So like I said, I like Andy a lot, and I think the guy VGC is fantastic. I think that they got it wrong here. I mean, anything that you want to add to this?
Yeah, I think I said all I had on it.
Okay, good. All right. I mean, listen, let's get into Fuzzy. I mean, again, this is a bit of a shocking revelation. Like I said, I don't. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, folks. I get it. Opinions. Everyone has one, and just like a-holes, right? So, this one though, I think it's a little bit more than just an opinion, because he said he's heard from pundits. Now, who are these pundits? Who are these?
Yeah,
hey,
who are
dude,
those
bros.
people?
Yeah, I don't know.
Names. Get some receipts on that.
I mean, if I knew, I wouldn't tell them. I wouldn't shout the names out either, because obviously, sometimes you talk to people and they're like, "Hey, I never said that," so that's fine. But Fuzzy,
Yep.
this is a bit of a hot take, in my opinion. I don't understand. I mean, the motivation, I guess, is clicks, but they don't usually do that.
Well, I guess the big thing is, let's just take it at face value. He's saying that these pundits are telling them that, Xbox can be sold off. Logically, let's take a step back. There's only but a handful of companies out there that would be able to afford that type of division being sold off. So realistically, when he says, "Oh, Xbox should be sold off," I guess it doesn't really make sense, because you take a division that was earning somewhere around 5 or 6 billion a year and is now probably close to around 15 to 18 billion a year.
Yeah.
And it's not at its full potential, and you're actually investing more to get it to its full potential. It goes against normal business sense. Like, you would at least give it 5 years after you've gotten your full potential or full investment to see if it's going to give you a return on there. So if the deal gets blocked, it would be some time before we would see an Xbox sold off. But all of that said, who's going to buy them? Apple? Apple's already making money without lifting a finger,
without doing a thing. It's funny. We all talk about this, and I've only mentioned it like 3 times because it really doesn't matter to me. I'm not an Apple user to begin with, but apparently, thanks to many people in this chat, Apple Arcade has 100 million plus subscribers.
Yeah.
Now, is that some fugazi? Are people paying for the service? They don't know they're paying for it? I don't know, because I'm not an Apple user. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but 100 million people, folks, have Apple Arcade.
Yeah. Now it's a much cheaper, subscription service, and there's a lot of bundle packages that they have with their music service and their movie and streaming service. So it's a service when I was an Apple only person, I wouldn't bother with, and I probably still wouldn't bother with. But it's still a big revenue source for them overall, where they don't even have to have a console. They don't have to have their own real cloud service. It's just basically their app store where you can, pay them a portion of money to have access to the games that, I mean, from a mobile standpoint, it is what it is. As far as for bigger games than that, there really isn't quite the selection. Like, you do have quite a few of the smaller indies in there, but outside of that, you don't have any of the big AAA games in that service. But Apple, I don't think, would be interested in buying or acquiring Xbox. So Microsoft isn't going to shop around when the market isn't really out there for it. Google's already taken their step back. There's
Yes.
no way they would even consider purchasing a already pre-made division, because if that were the case, they would have made attempts at that prior. But I
Yeah.
don't foresee Google even being in, or Alphabet being a big customer. Meta, no, because
No.
they don't have the capital. And
Right.
whatever capital they do have, they're dumping into this VR space or metaverse that is bleeding or hemorrhaging money right now. Amazon,
No.
they're moving like the tortoise. They're taking it nice and slow with their own pace of stuff. Like, I would see Amazon possibly buying Sony, because Sony is going to be a cheaper acquisition, or actually Sony as a whole would be a cheaper acquisition than I could foresee Microsoft trying to piecemeal or sell off Xbox, because then you'd have all the things associated with Xbox. Are they going to keep those as publishing and then just do the publishing aspect and get rid of the console hardware, which doesn't seem to make sense, since part of your Xbox branding is the other stuff outside of hardware. But it's nonsensical to me. Like,
Yeah,
even
I agree.
Tencent, I can't see being that big of a client to want to buy that hardware. Like, they have their own capabilities to make hardware if they truly want to step into that space. Like, I'm pretty sure they have something in the works for in mainland China, but outside of that, I don't foresee them ready to make hardware, especially considering kind of the trade war that we're in with China right at the moment. So that's kind of a weird area for them to dive into, and considering how the LG mobile thing is already kind of like their toe in the water type of deal. I think they'll let look to see how that plays out further before they even consider buying anything. But there's nobody in the market that would buy Xbox at the price that Microsoft would want. And even if Microsoft sells it at like flea market prices, there aren't many that have that kind of revenue that they would put towards that aren't already in the gaming space to some extent, making ample amount of money without even having to bother with the hardware aspect and things like that. So it feels like the pundits are maybe people that throw darts at the wall to get their predictions and such. But I can't imagine anybody outside of like a PlayStation fan, because I've heard more PlayStation fans over the course of the past 5 years. The ones that were saying things like, "Oh, why can't Xbox compete?" are the same ones that were also saying, "Oh, Microsoft's going to sell off Xbox." And it's like,
It's funny, guys. This comes. If you remember last week, there was an article written, not by a journalist, by I suppose it was a fan, where they suggested that Microsoft should just sell Xbox to PlayStation because they could do it better.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
let's back this up just a second. The talking about selling not the actual Xbox division of Microsoft. They're talking about selling the Call of Duty franchise is the only thing I believe that was, or those studios assigned to it. Is that correct?
Not this Andy's story.
No.
aspect.
He actually
Well,
means
Andy
the
was talking
Xbox
about trying
division.
to sell Xbox
Yeah.
division. Okay,
Yeah.
he's stupid.
If
Sorry.
the deal was to get blocked, that's
yeah.
how crazy or preposterous this is.
Okay, that is stupid. Yeah, you're right. That's dumb.
Something that's already earning money, because you put a bid in and you don't get that bid.
Okay,
but you still have the 70 billion in your pocket. You're going to all of a sudden sell off that.
Yeah. If they were trying to, I've heard people say that maybe the concession would be that they would have to sell off Call of Duty, but I've never heard them talked about. I mean, What'd be the
Well,
point?
no. This actually has literally nothing to do with the concessions from the the EU. What Andy
Okay.
is saying,
Wow.
so everyone's on the same
Yeah.
page here, is that if the deal were to fail, he has heard from pundits. Who these pundits are, I have no idea. He's well connected. He knows what he's talking
Okay.
about. And maybe somebody did say this, so maybe they're investors like, yeah, man, if I was gonna and I lost this, I'm gonna. He's saying he has heard
I
from
get you.
people that Microsoft would be in the business potentially of selling off the Xbox division because this deal didn't go through. That is, in a sense, is like I said, it's illogical.
Oh,
It is
yes.
irrational. It does not make any financial sense whatsoever when you are making. Now, granted, I did pull an article from a Tweaktown that was posted by Derek Strickland. And, obviously sometimes he gets it more wrong than he gets it right. He posted this on February 6th. Now, maybe this is on the heels of this article where PlayStation last year in 2022 made $8.8 billion more than the Xbox division. Now, that's not surprising considering that they had 4 massive AAA games that sold pretty damn good. They had an upswing in PlayStation 4, 5 consoles, and they were selling like hotcakes. So yes, they did make more money than Xbox. So I don't know if maybe his pundits are taking this into consideration, but last year was a bad year for Xbox. They
Yeah.
told us that. We knew that.
One last, I guess, point on this. I said I was done, and I just keep talking. But but so even if they're talking about the deal being stopped with the $68 billion to acquire ABK, they still have even besides that amount, if they didn't spend it, another $90 billion of cash on hand.
Yes.
That they had said that they were ready to purchase more things after this deal is finished.
Yes.
So I mean, cash on hand. Anyway, so his argument, obviously, and his pundits that he's hearing from, he's either, I don't know, they're smoking something, wishful thinking, or they're just trying to create an absolute, like what we're doing now. We're talking about it. We're giving them a platform to talk because that, but boom, I'm with you, man. There's no way in hell that they would do this.
It doesn't even make any sense, honestly.
Because Satya he's so into gaming now, and he's supporting it and backing it. Why would he be like, oh, if this deal doesn't go through, we're done? No, if this deal doesn't go through, you make another one, and that's the way business is. So yeah, it's holy Christ. This I guess when I first read the article, I didn't quite. I wasn't. I kind of, I guess, half-assed read it or something, but I was assuming they were talking about the deal part and not the division of Xbox. That's just lunacy.
Yeah.
Sorry. No,
well,
I'm
gonna. This all comes the way of a New York Times interview that Phil did when he was over there. I'm gonna read some of the quotes here because it's pretty interesting. The New York Times asked Phil Spencer what would happen if Xbox. What would happen to Xbox should such an important acquisition be blocked by regulators? To which he responded that the gaming business was not dependent on its completion. This is an important acquisition for us. It's not some linchpin to the long term. Xbox will exist if this deal doesn't go through. Much of the regulator, and I'm reading, more from the article, folks. Much of the regulators' concerns around the Activision Blizzard deal have focused on how it could allegedly reduce PlayStation's ability to compete, given that it would see Microsoft gain ownership over the Call of Duty series, which Sony has called irreplaceable. And what's interesting to that, and I hope that I'm sure they did post, PlayStation made $8.8 billion more last year. Like, that is crazy amount of money. That is near $9 billion more than Xbox last year. I don't understand why anyone would even cry a tear for Sony. Sony is raking in the dollars. For anyone, I don't care whether you're government or you're a regulator or both or part-time of one or the other. I don't understand how anyone would potentially suggest that Call of Duty or Activision being owned by Xbox is a bad thing for PlayStation when they have committed a 10-year deal. Now, again, I don't have the contract in front of me. We were talking about this in the green room. From my understanding, the contract would start in 2025 because right now, currently, Sony has the marketing rights for 2023 and 2024's Call of Duty, whatever that may look like. In 2024, at the end of that year, is when the current deal expires. Now, if we weren't talking about an acquisition, I'm sure that Sony would be running to the table with millions and millions of dollars to re-up on it, but that's not what's going to happen. Microsoft, if they buy Activision Blizzard King, the contracts that they have given to NVIDIA, they have signed with Nintendo, they have offered the same contract with no signature required to Valve because Gabe has already said, we don't need a contract. They do what they always say they're going to do. We're good with it. And the contract that they're offering Sony would start at the end of that current deal, which means, folks, and again, I could be wrong because I don't have the contract in front of me. I'm just going based on what I think the contract would, the 10-year deal would be, would start in 2025 and not end to 2035. Folks, that's 12 years from now. Like, is the Earth still going to even be here? I hope so, because I want to retire. I retired for a reason, but you don't have any idea. I don't know how better of a deal you can get, but whatever. This is what Phil Spencer said that was pretty incredible. He says, competition is us trying to get stronger. I don't have great rationale for how better competition in consoles is somehow hurtful for consumers. Because to me, having us, Sony and Nintendo, doing well in the console market, all of us with strengths and uniqueness and content and capabilities gives consumers more choice. I'd hate to see consoles go where phones are, where there are only two manufacturers. And right now, we have three good competitors. I mean, I know he's doing the interview. I know that the regulators are probably going to read his words, and there's a reason for this quote unquote book tour. But it really does it's just common sense, folks. Like I said, I will say it again. No offense to Andy Robinson. I think he should pull down his tweets. I think that his article is fine, but to suggest that Microsoft, because he has heard from other people, are looking to potentially get out of the business because of this deal potentially falling through is ridiculous. And I can say that with full authority, folks, because peers, well, not even my peers because I'm not a journalist, but journalists like Jez Corden and like
Tom Warren.
Tom Warren, thank you very much, from The Verge, have come out almost instantaneously and said, "Nah, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard." Listen, I don't want to spend the 3 hours on this, but what you want to say something, Dave?
Yeah, just quickly, because on that same thread that we've been following, Randall Thor 19 posted something that was pretty funny.
Yeah, read it aloud. Yeah, go for
it. So he put on there, here's a picture of the industry pundits, and it shows a picture of Jim Ryan outside of the PlayStation building, just smiling, real big smile on his face. Oh goodness,
the man with
that's a good dig. Randall Thor is good for those. Again, this is one of those things that, look, I've gotten it wrong, folks, and I'm a man of my word. If I get it wrong, I will come right live on the air here and look directly at that camera that I'm looking at right now and tell you, you know what, guys, gals, I got it wrong. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. This is one of those moments where I kind of wonder if he's looking back at before after he hit send, I'm like, man, I don't know if this is such a good idea. Listen, it is what it is. It's his opinion. He has heard from people. I don't think those people have any idea what the H they're talking about. But listen, it made a good 33-minute conversation to open up the show. I want to get into what we advertised for, folks. And that is what's going on currently at the FTC. Now, normally, folks, we don't talk about government here because politics suck. They're boring. Usually it's they do illegal stuff that we don't care for. So not all government is bad, but we don't like talking about governmental crap. This one we have to talk about simply because this barn fire, if you will, happened on the 23rd of February. Now, Christine S. Wilson, who is this woman? Well, she is apparently the FTC commissioner, and this she tweeted from her official Twitter account. And she posted something that was pretty damning. Now, listen, I don't know Lena Khan personally. I'm not going to badger her or call her names. I would ask that anyone in the chat refrain from doing that. We're not here to pile on the rabbit. She is running the FTC how she sees fit. I think, honestly, she's too young to run that kind of governmental arm. I think that her ideologies are skewed. I think that the world that she is trying to build does not exist, even in books. I don't like the way that she does not use, and she has not used, the rule of law, which is what we do in this country. And I'm going to read you the definition of not only the definition of rule of law, folks. I'm going to read to you the actual FTC's mission statement, which is exactly opposite of what Lena Khan, who is the chairperson at the FTC, is doing specifically with this ABK deal, but has with other deals. That's why she's 0-8. But this is what Christine S. Wilson had to say about the FTC. Now, mind you, she's the commissioner there. She says, I have been accused of exaggerating FTC morale problems. And she writes the definition of exaggerate defined to make something less larger, more important, or worse than it really is. She continues and says this: folks can review the data below and decide for themselves whether I've exaggerated. Facts are stubborn things. So this was what I have in front of me, folks, was the Federal Employee Viewpoint Survey. And in column 1, it says the FTC in 2020. And there are a couple of things I want to read for you so you understand for context. Senior leaders maintain higher standards of honesty, integrity. Now, for 2020, it was at 87%. That's pretty high. A little low for my standards because I think integrity and honor and honesty, they should be 100%, but that's fine. In 2021, it dropped down to 53%. And in 2022, dropped another 4 points. It is currently sitting at 49%. Now, this is for the high standards of honesty and integrity within the FTC. That is a fail, folks. That is a fail across the board, and more importantly, a fail at leadership. Well, let me continue. High level of respect for my organization's senior leaders. In 2020, it was 83%. In 2021, it was at 49%. And guess where it fell to in 2022? 44%. Not even half. That sucks. The next topic. Senior leaders generate high levels of motivation and commitment in workforce. In 2020, it was 80%. In 2021, it was 42%. And in 2023, folks, get this, 1/3 of where it should be, 36%. Wow. And the last topic here in the questions, considering everything, how satisfied are you with your organization is one of the questions. In 2020, it was a pinch away from 90%. In 2021, it dropped 30 points to 60%, and it dropped an additional 18 points in 2022 and leveled out at 42%. Those are bad rankings, folks. That is not good. So, you know what? I before I go on and give you my spiel, I want to quickly, Dave, this is, again, I'm not making up these numbers. I'm literally reading verbatim of what the
Yeah.
commissioner of the FTC had to say. I'm interested to get your thoughts on this, dude.
Yeah, it's I mean, that's I believe it's an internal survey, which all businesses do it. We do here at the bank as well too. The
Yes.
kind of and it's usually a and I believe this is too. It's an anonymous type survey, so that you can't come back at a certain employee or anything like that.
Right.
But it's done to to see where they feel that morale is at. I'm lucky that I work for a company that's ranked really high, so in the Fortune 500 company, and as far as places to work, we're are very very well received, and I enjoy working here, so I get it, and but I take those surveys seriously because if there has been times in the past when we didn't have certain equipment that we needed, and we let that known, and then within the next year we ended up getting the equipment that we needed. So it makes sense that those are real things and real reviews and stuff that go around. It basically gives them a barometer as to how the inner workings are going in the day to day company structure of the FTC, and it's clear that a lot of people don't agree with the way they're going right now because it's pretty unjust. It's pretty and people can it's so blatantly obvious that everybody sees it.
Yeah.
That's why they had another member leave because they're like, I can't do this anymore. It's unethical. It's not correct. It's not being, fair to what we're supposed to be doing here.
Yeah.
So I really think that it's those assessments are valid, and I like that she's put that out there because it's something that the people really need to know, so that that they know it's not necessarily the FTC as it is a rogue element in there
Yes.
that needs to be fixed.
Well, I mean, listen, again, I don't know Lena Khan personally. I can only say based on her actions, specifically with this particular deal, because we're obviously invested in the conversation because that's to do with Xbox, right? That's what we do here. We want to see Microsoft, become a more of a challenger for Sony, even Nintendo. Remember, they're in third place, and if you count Apple Arcade in services, well, Microsoft is fourth. You know what I'm saying? So these numbers, they don't lie. You can argue opinions, you can't argue numbers. Listen, Fuzzy, before I get to you, brother, I want it for more context here. And obviously, Dave, don't feel bad about jumping in again should any of these pique your interest. I want to read to you what the rule of law is. And I pulled this directly from, obviously I did a Google search. I pulled this directly from a website that I trust. The rule of law for this country states that that the rule of law is the political philosophy that all citizens and institutions within a country, state, or community are accountable to the same laws, including lawmakers and leaders. And right now, the rule of law, which is paramount in this particular country, is not being followed by Lena Khan, who is the chair of the FTC. She has made it her business to take this ideology that she currently has, where big tech is bad, which in some cases they are, and the ideology of we don't care if we lose in court, we're going to sue you, is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. No one goes into court hoping to lose. You go into court hoping to win every time. I don't know where she gets this ideology from, but I guess because she's not following the rule of law, and because the FTC has these in between the lines things where they can jack up a company for years before they get to a federal level, which is why they're being sued right now. But here, folks, is the actual mission statement pulled from the ftc.gov.com, and it says this for context: the Federal Trade Commission's mission to prevent businesses practices that are anti-competitive or deceptive or unfair to consumers, to enhance informed consumer choice and to and public understanding of the competitive process, and to accomplish this without unduly burdening legitimate business activity. That last line should be a lie, because that's not what she is currently doing regarding any of the cases that she has lost, specifically with the Activision Blizzard King case. But I want to read some more context here for you, Fuzzy. It says, what do we do here at the FTC? A couple of bullet points. Identify illegal practices. Stop and take action against illegal practices through law enforcement. To prevent consumer injury through education of consumers and businesses. Enhance consumer benefit through research, reports, and advocacy. And finally, protect American consumers globally. None of those things that were pulled directly from the ftc.gov.com are what they're currently doing. I'm interested to get your opinions on this, regarding, what is the ongoings with the FTC, specifically, though, with the commissioner, the actual commissioner of the FTC coming out and saying, hey, folks, I'm not making this stuff up. Here, look for yourself. This is the internal survey. Yeah. Boom. There you go.
I think the funny part now is that they just recently announced that they're not going to contest the Meta acquisition, and
that's correct. Yes,
I guess they've licked their wounds enough and are tired of having court battles where they lose. So the Meta one, yeah, they're going to let that slide, I guess. And more than likely that's going to be the same deal for the Microsoft one, because it doesn't look like they're going to get anything on the law books changed to this newfound approach on blocking deals based on something other than what the FTC has in its I guess not what is it, like their not universal statement, but they're like basically their pledge, as you would say.
Yeah, their mission statement.
Yeah, their mission statement. But considering the morale, I mean, it's hard to work at a company or within a governmental office knowing that the higher ups are on this tangent to do stuff that really isn't what you signed up for. At some point, you have to look at where you're working and the people you're working with as, is this what I was expecting it to be? And what else can I do in between now and then before I find somewhere else to work, type of deal. So morale is definitely going to be down. You can't go against the grain and try to be this, political, anarchist to some extent, as far as going against these, big business per se, to kind of keep them in check without possibly, going off script or going off mission when it comes to it. So the office in general, it's considering the I won't say turnover to some extent, but kind of to some extent it is the turnover as far as people leaving. It's going to continue to happen until you can get basically a group of people that are going to be all on the same page. And you don't have to all agree on every interpretation of the law, but at least when it comes to what your department is supposed to fight for versus what it's fighting for currently, it just seems like that's going to create, dissension in the lower ranks, or basically the backbone of that office at that point. I mean, it's great. You can have Lena Khan and your legal team fighting in court for the good fight against big business, but if that's not what you're really supposed to be tasked to do, it's eventually going to eat away at overall cohesion in the office. So it's to be expected. I know when people were trying to attack the one person that put out the I guess the lack of morale, or the morale decreasing in that space, as not being true or being off from what they thought was the case there. But every office, when, like I said, if you're going to have the company or the office do something different than what was expected, or what people were originally hired or assigned to do, it's definitely going to take a few steps down, or unravel things from the all levels above below the top. So it's to be expected. But hopefully they maybe some changes in office positions will bounce things back, or maybe if they just focus on the consumer and not these pie in the sky things against big business. You can still focus on consumer and still hold big business accountable. It's just you got to go about it in a way where it's not just all or nothing, no compromise, no coming to the table, negotiating, things along those lines. Which, yeah, that may not be in the best interest of those going against big business, but sometimes you have to win the smaller battles to win the war, type of thing. And maybe Lena Khan or whoever replaces her down the road will, get that figured out or sorted out. But I've rambled enough. I'm sorry.
No, please. This is a conversational podcast. I mean, that's what the people tune in for. Listen, Dave, before I get to the super chats and move on to topic number 3, which is one's a little controversial, but I kind of want to get out there ahead of it and give people the proper, idea of what is going on. Anything you'd like to add, concerning the additional information that I read after you went and discussed your opinion, and what to anything to what Fuzzy had to say?
Well, Fuzzy's just absolutely spot on. I mean, they're and they're going to continue to try and downplay and come after what's clearly relevant to the topic at hand and to the situation that's inside. We're not insiders. We don't know what's going on in the building.
Nope.
But these people, especially this lady, knows what she's talking about and now has put the proof up. So I think she should be commended for that and not ridiculed for it. So because it doesn't fit their narrative, that everybody's 100% behind Lena Khan, and this is the righteous fight that the FTC is in. It is not. It is strictly her trying to make a name for herself. She is making a name for herself, but I don't think it's the one she really wanted to get.
I mean, listen, I understand for that if first of all, any business, doesn't matter whether it's a sneaker company, one that makes pop, one that sells video games, any company that is not checked by government has a potential to do some misleading things for consumers. If you give them enough leeway, they will take it. That's a fact. That's why these governmental places exist, right? Because we need to have people in place to protect us as consumers. But unfortunately, that is not what Lena Khan is currently doing. Meta is, well, they suck, right? They are who they are, and they are who we thought that they were, right? I mean, they're not the greatest of companies. They do a lot of scandalous things. Google has done a lot of stuff selling your information. I mean, they've all been guilty of it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, getting back to what we're here for, and that's video games. I don't know a world where when you tell regulators or you tell the gaming public that currently Call of Duty is available on 120 million devices, right? Now that's mostly console, but that's PC, that's wherever else, that's handheld. That's 120 million. That's a lot of people playing Call of Duty. But when you say this 10-year deal is going to now offer an additional 150 million new players to Call of Duty, that doubles up the current number. And I'm no mathematician, folks, but that's 270 million people playing Call of Duty. That were only before it was only 120 million people, and that in itself is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I don't see the major concern for the deal being blocked, because you're offering it in more places and more people are playing. You're not shrinking the industry, you're growing the industry. Now, granted, listen, folks, let's call a spade here, folks. If Sony would have been in a position to buy Activision Blizzard King, you don't think they would have done that? Of course they would have, because they, unlike Microsoft, would probably have locked up Call of Duty as an exclusive. And why wouldn't you?
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to be the owner of Call of Duty and the only place to play this monstrous IP? Well, that's Sony's business. They literally have built their business, folks, by keeping games off of other platforms. They're just getting hip to the fact that PCs exist, and there's only more PCs than all 3 platforms combined. They're now just getting hip to that because it's leaving money on the table. So it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I did hear that, I guess sometime this week or next week we should be hearing from the Chinese government and their regulators saying that that the deal was probably going to go through without any
concessions.
Yeah. So, and that's just another one.
That was a story. It's funny you bring that up because last week a lot of places ran stories where Chinese regulators were expected to pass the deal because of what Tencent had to say. Tencent was for the deal, and that's. I mean, listen, they're not Microsoft's friends, folks. They're in the business. They buy everything. Tencent is here, there, and everywhere. So of course they don't have a problem with the deal. It makes perfect sense.
And Tencent is a Chinese-owned company.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely. So it would.
Government-owned.
So if Tencent, who's owned by the Chinese government, is saying thumbs up, folks, for the deal, it's because they're intending to buy and continue to buy and invest and just do what they do. So again, they're not Microsoft's friends, but I'm going to be honest with you. Whether you think China is important or not, they're a big country, and they are important to business, regardless of whether your views on their governmental runnings. And we're not going to talk about government because that's boring. But listen, let me catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them.
Some big ones too.
Yeah, some big ones as well. Let me get to the private chat here. Thank you, Dave, for throwing that in there. First of all,
You're
Jesse
welcome.
DeBarrios drops a very generous $5 super chat in his first one of the day. He says, cutting Call of Duty does not make sense because crying Jim Ryan is still going to be crying if it isn't owned by PlayStation, and that is the truth. Jay Rambert drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, what do these UK journals have against Xbox? You know, my answer to that, folks, is quite simple. I'm no genius by any stretch of the truth. I'm a blue collar dude. The reason why there's a very anti-Xbox journalistic community is because, unfortunately, they need clicks, and clicks bring in readers, and readers bring in more readers. And unfortunately, integrity, which is an important part, at least how we do things on this channel, is gone. They need clicks. They want people to click on their articles. And right now, and it's been like this for many, many years, and please tell me if I'm wrong, folks, hating on Xbox is good for business. It's just, unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. I don't agree with it. I think it's ridiculous. I think we need more people writing positive articles about how, and again, I said it in the beginning, I'm not going to say it again, the Xbox Game Pass situation on allowing people to be a part of the conversation is something people forget. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not a rich dude. I'm doing well. I'm not going to say that I'm not, but I still, Game Pass is huge for me, and look at the offerings just in 2023, and a couple of next week we're getting Wu Long. I mean, it's just more games to add to the backlog. I don't know what to tell you. Kenta Wilson drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, "Boom! I took your advice. Hogwarts Legacy is amazing. Thank you. I'm glad that you did. I am 3 days and 11 hours into that game, and I'm only 67%." Because I'm going through it with a fine-tooth comb. I am not missing anything. I'm still finding new things. That game is bonkers. I absolutely love it. But listen, Drawn TJ drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, no one can afford the Xbox division. Look it up. It's worth $500 billion if you want all of the studios and IPs plus the people. Yeah, I mean, it's half $1 trillion. There's only a few companies in the world that can do. I mean, there's a lot of companies in the world that can do it, but the main players, Apple, Google, Amazon, Sony, they couldn't afford it. So that's not going to happen. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, boom and panel. Microsoft made $72 billion last fiscal year. Anyone who thinks Microsoft will sell the Xbox division off, lay off the drugs. I mean, you're not wrong. Drawn TJ drops a very generous additional $2 super chat and says, everyone please hit the like button. And yes, please hit the like button. We have almost 600 people here, and that is we're getting breaking records with this particular show because remember it started off really slow, and you're enjoying the conversation, and because you are, I can't thank you enough. Please consider we are 142 subs away from 12K. We have almost 600 people here. I'm sure everyone is already subbed, but if you are not subbed, please, I was hoping to get it in January, and February came, and obviously these are the last 2 days. Maybe we can get it in the next 2 days. I don't know, but we'd love to hit 12K. It would be a big deal for me and Mrs. Boom. So if you're not already subscribed, please consider subscribing. We have David Chimenti drops a very generous, $20 super chat. And he says, with all the money pouring in, even if this deal doesn't go through and Xbox's ability to lap up studios anyways, they say shareholders are losing their patience. Are they kidding? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, folks, I don't have billions of dollars in the bank. Sorry, I just don't. But I can say that if I was an investor, and I have stock in Microsoft, I don't have a lot of stock. I have stock in Microsoft. I can't say that I'm frustrated with anything they're doing because they are making money. They are making money, folks, hand over fist. And again, last quarter they didn't make as much money. Sony beat them out, but they're still making money. I don't know. It's shocking to me. Scott Gamer Dude drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, "Hello, Boom. Is this another example of Sony's anti-consumer habits? I don't own a good enough PC. I bought God of War on Steam thinking I could play it on GeForce Now. Did Sony block this game from being used on GeForce Now? I don't know, dude. I will look that up and find out. I don't know. I know that you can't play like a lot of the Activision stuff. Like Activision pulled all this, specifically Call of Duty. And folks, just if you don't understand GeForce Now, it's not like you play a game for free. You have to pay for the service, number one, and number two, you have to buy the game. You have to actually own the game. So I'm not sure what happened there, dude. But listen, I do want to before we still have a half an hour of the show, and I kind of want to
one
talk
more
about
super
this.
chat.
Oh, we got another one come in.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
Highlander 001 drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, off topic. Had carpal tunnel surgery. Dude, I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you're feeling better and cannot game for 2 weeks. Damn. My daughter is happy that she can get some top scores on her 1UP arcade for once. That is hilarious, dude. Now, did you do both hands or just one? Because if you did one hand, if there's one good hand, you could play Vampire Survivor. That's really a one-handed thing. You don't really need more than two hands for that game, but hopefully you recover fast and you can get back to gaming because there's just too many games. Honestly, way too many games. But I do want to talk about a topic that that was brought to my attention by several people in the community, specifically the Primetime Gaming crew that I roll with each and every Wednesday. Folks, I do want to get in front of this before it's out of control. Now, Clobriel, who is an insider, even though he says otherwise, he posted something on Twitter that Obsidian is releasing the Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition. And this is coming March 7th. It has improved visuals, increased level cap, and includes both expansions, Murder on Eridanos and Peril on Gorgon. Now, why this is coming into some controversy is because it's not being released into Xbox Game Pass. And of course, people starting to light those torches and grab their pitchforks. There is a reason for it, folks. And I want it to be clear because Outer Worlds, the OG one that released with all the DLC, is currently in Xbox Game Pass, and people are starting to ask, well, why can't I get this in Xbox Game Pass with the with the better graphics and the level cap? And here's why. And this is thanks to Clobriel for clearing this up almost instantly after he made the original post. This is a new paid SKU, no Game Pass. Cheaper upgrade path only available if you own the base game plus both expansions. It looks like this remastered version was handled by Virtuos Studio. and this is being published by Private Division, not Microsoft. Now, Private Division is who they had a contract with before Obsidian was purchased by Xbox. So FYI, if you want to play the Outer Worlds, the original version of it, with the regular updated graphics for Series X, which is available, you can do that through Game Pass. This new paid SKU is only available to purchase, and that's because it's not being published by Microsoft. It's being published by Private Division. I hope that clears up a lot of the confusion behind this. This is something very similar to what we saw go on with Bethesda's RPG that they released the Elder Scrolls 5. Yes, the Elder Scrolls 5, and it was you had to buy. I bought it. It was $30. Dave, is this a big deal? I mean, I've beaten the game. I've beaten both expansions. I
Right.
don't think I would go back to it. Honestly, I think I've done everything I could do. This is for new players that maybe haven't experienced it. And if you don't want to spend the money, don't spend the money. It looks great on the Series X as it is. But I hate seeing these kind of things because it does make consumers get a little bit wacky when it comes to understanding what is happening.
Kay Asante said in chat that Private Division is owned by Take-Two.
Yep.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
And my feeling is, did Sony have anything to say about MLB The Show coming to Game Pass? Or
no, they did not.
and also, what was the other title? Oh, Death Stranding on PC.
Oh yeah,
Coming
505
to Game Pass.
Yeah.
So if this other company, which has the leverage of that particular part of the game, doesn't want to bring it to Game Pass or couldn't necessarily work out a deal with Microsoft to bring it to Game Pass, then that's their prerogative.
Yeah.
You get the game, but you don't get these quote unquote new updates, new upgrades. It's basically the same type of thing, but kind of not, because it's like the reverse of that. Why is it not on Game Pass? But with Sony, would this be something that's available to Sony, to their, who knows? But that's the kind of mindset I have. It's like, yes, it'd be nice to have, and why isn't it in Game Pass? Okay. If there's one or two things that don't necessarily make it to Game Pass because of this quote unquote legal entanglement with the franchise, you can't do what you can't do, and if you can't work it out, you can't work it out. And I'm sure Microsoft is probably going to spend their money in a lot of other places, or they deem that the changes and upgrades weren't enough to really warrant throwing more money at this particular thing.
That's my thought of it. That's a great breakdown of it. I think you might be onto something where maybe compared to what they currently have available for free on Game. When I say free on Game Pass, you pay for your subscription, but I think you might be on. That's a great analogy.
Thanks. That was kind of all I had on that particular.
Okay,
to really get you going.
Let's
get Fuzzy in there for
a small topic. I just want to. I'm glad Dave cleared that up, because that does make a lot of sense. I'm glad that we're talking about it because, again, it's a small, tiny topic. It's one that's only going to be a few minutes, but one I think that's worthy of a conversation.
It is, yes.
I don't like these things. Obviously, and are we spoiled? We just might be. Like, we just want what we want when we want it in Game Pass, and maybe that's an us thing. But I listen. Like I said, if the extended level cap is something that you really need in your life, then go buy the game. If you're okay with the current level cap and you're okay with the current graphics that were upgraded for free via the Series X, I don't really think I don't really think you need this addition. But Fuzzy, let's get your take on this.
This will all be fixed after the ABK deal when they pick up Take-Two.
I like what you're putting down there. That is scandalous.
Throwing the salt out there,
no,
man.
It's one of those things, because of the publisher situation. It is what it is. Take-Two, we've seen how they move when it comes to wanting extra money for upgrades and things like that. So it's to be expected, but I would say sit back and wait, maybe in 3 to 6 months, because typically that's how they move. They'll probably put it in Game Pass because Take-Two, they're going to try to get that quick cash as soon as possible. There's going to be a few people that are pissed off. I mean, if you're on the fence as far as getting the paid upgrade, just wait, give it 3 to 6 months. It'll probably be in Game Pass more than likely. Just kind of like the way GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2, pop in and pop out of Game Pass. It'll probably do the same thing. And then at that point, you could probably get the Game Pass discount if you do want to, buy it outright type of deal. But it's a publisher thing. And like I said, maybe after ABK, maybe it won't be a problem anymore.
Hey, in the chat, it's pretty funny. I guess it's Abdel114 said Sony can't afford Square, let alone Take-Two. So yeah,
it's true. I mean, first of all, I said this jokingly, but the way Square has been acting recently, I mean, they're putting themselves up to be bought by somebody.
Yeah.
You're getting rid of your American division, your arm with Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, and just they're cutting the fat here, there, and everywhere. They are definitely putting themselves up to be purchased. The question is, who would want to invest in Square Enix? Again, they've made some great games in the past. I really enjoyed Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think it's phenomenal. It's a great rendition if you're a fan of the original. I love the original. They've had some hits. Octopath Traveler 1. Octopath Traveler 2 just released, and it's getting stellar reviews. I have it, and I cannot wait to play it. I don't know. I mean, look, at the end of the day, folks, the world is getting very expensive. And I'm not bringing cream cheese into the conversation. Don't worry. I'm just saying that for game companies, the amount of investment and the amount of return, they're just not as big as they used to be. And games are getting more expensive to make. And companies are having to scale back on size of employees because of that. And unfortunately, games are not being made as quick as they would like. And because that's happening, folks, they're taking longer to make a game. If it takes longer to make a game and longer for that game to be sold to customers like us, it's more money invested and maybe the return isn't so high. That's why consolidation, it's not going to stop with ABK. You're seeing Tencent and all these. I mean, Sony just again, according to rumors, just bought another studio.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, smaller studios can't survive without big help. It's just a fact. Something just came across my desk. This is going to be the last topic of the day. Again, another smaller one, but it's interesting to say the least. This comes the way of, again, our good friends over at Primetime Gaming. Of course, that is Everborn Saga and the rest of the crew, Wandering Dutch, Kay Asante, Crispy Bomb, Mag, who was just announced as the new co-host of XNC. I think that is a phenomenal get. Of course, we're going to be sad to see Gaz go because of work situations, but man, talk about a good replacement for Gaz, who is loud and can be obnoxious. Gaz, I love you. And Mag, who's equally loud and obnoxious, and is a great. It's a great thing for Colt Eastwood and his show on Mondays, and actually tonight at 7 p.m. or is it 8 p.m. It's Gaz's last show, so get out there and support Gaz, not only on that show, but of course his own work over on what he does with Asa. But this last story, this is an interesting one. Again, literally just came across my desk. Paradox Entertainment. Well, apparently they are having a show March 6th at 6 p.m. CET. They're going to have new games, new expansions, new gameplay reveals and updates. And you're asking, Boom, why are you talking about this on an Xbox program? Well, apparently, folks, it's being presented by Xbox, which is interesting. Now, I'm going to go to Paradox Entertainment's website and see According to the leading global publisher of deep and endless games, we make the games, you create the stories. I don't know what else they have done. Anyone in the chat want to school me on that as I read the rest of the super chats? But this is another event, and there are rumors, folks, that there is some Starfield event information happening this week. Well, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. Not only we have one special guest, but we have two. We have Skullsy TV, who's going to be joining us, Mr. Bethesda himself, and I Steal Rain from Living Split Screen will be joining the conversation tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But let me catch up on these super chats. We had Pixel Bit G. What's up, brother? Long time, no time. I know you're always in the chat. Glad to see you here. He's been a channel member for 21 months, and he says this: Xbox is projected to make $8.5 billion in 2023. Why would they leave that alone? I think that this is bias. The commentary from earlier is a bias projection. I mean, it could very well be. I don't know why he would do that, but yeah, opinions, folks. You're entitled to yours. Jesse DeBarrios, who's not only drops an additional $2 super chat, he's a new channel member. So Jesse, thank you so much for that. In fact, channel members, let me just switch that now that we talked about it. We have, let's see, he said, maybe Elon will buy Xbox. Joking, LOL. You God, you don't want that. You don't want that madman buying. Look what he's doing with Twitter. I love Twitter, but my God, it's been pretty bad recently. Raiden Blade, who's been a member for 1 year, just a very generous £5 super chat and says, the madness of Xbox hate. Remember ABK went to Xbox and Xbox told them to ask other companies, and the likes of Google, Apple, and AWS and Tencent said no. That is pretty damning. And it's funny, as much as we've talked about it, they did go to other people and they said no. And Microsoft was the only one that said yes. That's pretty damning. Raiden Blade drops an additional £2 super chat and saying for us, and he says this, saying for years, SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, relies on Call of Duty annual income. Yes, they do. That's a fact. Drawn TJ, who's a new channel member as well. Thank you for that. Drawn TJ drops a $2 super chat and says, I bet they buy Capcom. Yeah, see, Capcom 2016, sure. Capcom 2023, I don't think so. Capcom just gave their employees 2 Decembers ago a 25% increase in salary, which they deserve. They're not hurting for money. This is a much stronger Capcom. They don't need to be purchased. They are doing very well, and their IPs. I mean, look. I can tell you right now, Resident Evil 4 remake is going to bring in big bucks for them, and that's coming out at the end of March. Kay Asante, who's been a channel member for 6 months. Thanks so much for that, brother. He says Square Enix market cap today is $5.411 billion, so about $11 billion to buy them. That's 1/7 of the ABK deal. That they could buy them, but I don't think that I look. I'm speaking for me. I like Final Fantasy. I don't love it. I don't think Square Enix's IP is that relevant that they need them. I mean, for Japanese injection into that region, sure, that'd be a big deal. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I mean, I'll put it this way. I wouldn't want the Square Enix of today. What I would want is the Square Enix that included Crystal Dynamics, all of those IPs that they had, including Tomb Raider and Eidos Montreal. They don't have those anymore. That has been sold to Embracer Group. So I don't know. Listen, I know Dave had to take a step back for a second. Fuzzy, let's grab your hot take on this. Again, this is it's small. It's a small event. It's Paradox Interactive.
Yeah,
but it's sponsored by Xbox. That means that maybe some of these games are coming into Game Pass.
well, they have had some of their games make it into Game Pass. Not day and date though. Like the Mars one, where it's almost like a Mars.
Oh, Deliver Us Mars. Deliver Us Mars.
Not Deliver Us from Mars, but it's almost like think of SimCity, but in Mars. And then they had the city skylines in there as well. But I remember, and I can't remember the project name, but I think Jez made mention that Paradox was working with Xbox on a project not too long ago.
Oh,
But
interesting.
no idea what that project name was, because there's been so
Surviving
many
Mars?
project names out there. But yeah,
Surviving Mars was the name, as Dave just said.
yes,
Is that
yeah,
it?
Surviving
okay.
Mars. Yeah, because that they do awesome like city builder type games. So I'm curious to see if we see that Xbox project game being unveiled tomorrow, or what was it, third? So that would be pretty cool. But man, I think this is the year where Xbox, every so many weeks we get an announcement, whether it be a Game Pass announcement, a first party game, or a third party deal. And I think this one's going to be a third party like publishing deal or something like that. That was like one of those 15 games that were like projects that Jez had talked about a while back. But yeah, Square, as far as being picked up by Xbox, not really on the radar. I'm with Everborn. I would rather Sega be picked up as something that's in the region over there. I would say that would be the company to go for. And unfortunately, I don't think Capcom's even on the table. It'd be nice, but
they're just doing too well, dude.
Yeah.
Like whenever, I mean, again, I maybe you're new to the channel. You never heard me talk about Capcom. My favorite company of all time, like literally all time. I'm a huge Capcom stan. In 2016, folks, they were on the ropes.
Yeah.
They were on the cusp of bankruptcy, which is why they made those two deals. One specifically with PlayStation for Street Fighter V, and Sony invested a significant amount of money, which is why Street Fighter V is never coming to anywhere but a PlayStation. That's fine. They invested. And we got Dead Rising 3, which I loved Dead Rising. And we didn't talk about it. Did anyone else see the Dead Rising remake, or that they were going to do with a franchise? It sounds, maybe we should talk about it. You know what? We'll talk about that on Friday's Breakfast at Boom. Folks, what was put down, I'll bring the receipts. It was going to be based solely on a Last of Us type of scenario. But they were going to reboot the whole franchise. It was going to be a very serious take on Dead Rising. And the premise was going to be centered around something similar to The Last of Us. Oh my God, I can't believe they deep sixed that. That's very sad, because and it was expected to be an Xbox exclusive, which is even crazier. But listen, before we get everyone out of here, I want to thank everybody that's here. I want to thank the super chats that have come in. Dave, let's get your final opinion on this. I just pulled up Wandering Dutch just put this up there. Paradox is going to be doing the show. It is sponsored by Xbox. One of those games that they're showing might be one of the mystery titles that they've been working on specifically with Xbox. We'll get first eyes on it. I really like these little things, these little bloops and bleeps of Xbox, exclusive information. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I think it's great. Some people say, "Oh, it's filler this or that." It's important to cover everything for everybody. And this may be a niche game. This may be a, something bigger than that. It could be something that just fills a certain genre that either the Game Pass or the platform needs. And that's a good thing. More games, more variety, more choices. It's always good. And if Microsoft can get something like this going, and if they're sponsoring it, it seems to make sense that there's some kind of connection, and hopefully we'll find out more. Also wanted to say too that it was right. It was I don't know, coded for Fuzzy. As soon as he said about should be Sega should be, because he agreed with Everborn. Guess who showed up in chat?
Well, Everborn Saga. Hey, what's going on, brother? Welcome.
Yeah, so that's that was for Everborn. But yeah, so and yeah, on that subject too, I agree. Sega would be a good purchase. And even though a lot of people are down on Square, I still think they do make good games. They do have some good franchises that I would love for Microsoft to own. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but if they are available on the cheap, Microsoft's got lots of money to buy lots of things, and who's to say they won't just buy more than one?
Yeah, I mean,
when the deal's done, who's next? That's what the board's going to ask.
Well, I mean, we did hear Phil Spencer said this, folks. Is you can go and pull the receipts if you want. After what happened with Bethesda, like they spent near $8 billion, which was, considering chump change. We say that compared to ABK, but the investing board, their board, said, what are we doing next? Literally, as soon as the deal was signed, who's next? And well, I would imagine that same board, if this deal does go through, and I really, really think that all of the concessions Microsoft is offering are, again, you can't structure this deal to chop off Call of Duty. I said that in the opening. It doesn't make any financial sense, because who is going to buy it, and what entails that? Do you get rid of all the studios, and at what point? Why would you want ABK? Right? It doesn't make any sense. I think that the behavioral remedies with signed contracts that are signed into law, that Microsoft cannot go back on, should be enough, along with whatever they add in the back end of it. Maybe Game Pass can't, raise prices for 3 years, whatever. I don't know. But real quick, before we get everyone out of here, David Trementi drops an additional $11 super chat and says, look, guys, the thing is, Xbox is too rich. We are too popular to be sold. We have good people there who know what they are doing. And remember one thing, we are not Stadia. That is very true. Jesse DeBarrios drops an additional $2 super chat and says, Xbox should just go out and get Embracer Group. And you know what? That could be a possibility. Again,
KSI likes that.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way: to buy Embracer Group right now is like 1/7. I think it'd be under $10 billion of which is a very low percentage of what they're spending on ABK. I'd like that idea, and actually, K Asante loves that idea. We also have super chat come in from, let's see, Jerron TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I say Bandai Namco and WB, and go fund that reboot of Dead Rising and get Crytek and all of the small studios they're working with. I mean, I like the Bandai Namco move, to be honest with you. I do like them. They are huge, but they're also very, very big into anime and toys. Their business is so much larger than just video games. I don't know if Microsoft would want to get involved with that. They should, because they could use all their characters and bring them to toy form, which would be awesome. But listen, at the end of the day, shout out to Boss Mod Lethal Papa, keeping these streets safe as he always does. He is one of the major chat moderators, and he has full authority to use his ban stick whenever he feels it's necessary. And if you get banned by him, you did something pretty bad, because the guy is amazing and he's very fair. But let's get to the outros. We'll get everyone out of here. Crazy Lou was going to join us. Unfortunately, he was having massive internet issues in the Dominican Republic, so we'll get him back here next week. But Dave, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for one-on-one content. Talk about your Sunday show with Retri. And more importantly, where can people subscribe to get you to 1K? And where could they reach out to you on social media?
Well, I definitely would appreciate everybody going over and subscribing. We are definitely on the hunt now. We've been kind of not necessarily dragging our feet, but we've been, so we're getting there. We're about, I guess, 575. So we're still got a ways to go, but
okay. So 4.25, that's doable. Yeah. Yes,
yeah.
There's over 400 people here. Maybe they're not subscribed to you. Maybe they should run over to and subscribe to you right now, which I'm going to drop the link in as you keep talking.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. So we do have a interview show, which is the the first show I guess I should talk about is the Sunday show, because that's the one that's the newest one. That is the Gamers Council. I really like that one a lot. It's a new show. We just had the Wandering Dutch on, and that's available on so you can view on demand. So it's free to watch, and it was a really good take. What we do on that show is really we just kind of get the audience in, we get the people that are in the chat, and we bring up their conversations, what they want to talk about, and do our best to to kind of bring light to it. Or even if you just have a comment, we'll read it out, and you can go from there, as long as it's obviously worded nicely, as it were, because we don't want to offend anybody, but we definitely, we understand that passions can get high, and sometimes we have some really hot takes. So it's definitely worth checking it out. It's going to be every Sunday, 6 p.m. Central, and then of course we're Outbreak Gamers, which is my interview show 101. I'm actually pretty sure I'm going to have one for Monday, and then a couple of more right after that. So I should be able to get a couple in the can now. I've had a couple of I guess not cancellations, but real life happens to all of us. And so even though I've got a couple, I had like 3 scheduled, and every single one of them ended up having to get moved around. And so it kind of left me with nothing, because I don't want to, I don't want to have like 50 backed up. I don't want to, overproduce them. But yeah, we should be good for next week with a new episode. But I've got a lot of great ones up there now, including Mr. Boomsticks and including Fuzzy Belvedere. So please check those out. Great content providers all. Thank you, Boom, for having me on. I really appreciate it, sir.
No problem, brother. You're currently at 574 subscribers, folks. Come on, let's get another amazing community member to 1K. We recently just saw Asante last year. At the end of the year, he hit it. Dreadpool just hit it live on the air. Folks, we're all about raising others up, and Dave is one of the good guys. Please, the link is there. It's literally 2 clicks. You're not even going to break a sweat. You literally click it once, you get there, you subscribe, you click it again. Trust me, I won't charge you $10.
It's free.
It's free. Indeed it is. And speaking of someone else that deserves to hit 1K as well, constant good guy, constant salt from him recently. Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, talk about your YouTube channel, where they can subscribe to the best place for anything racing, and more importantly, where can they find you on other shows and reach out to you on social media?
Just want to thank you for having me on today, and for everybody in the chat that interacted with us. Always awesome, talking about the ABK deal and other things relating to Xbox. So always a good time. For those that want to hear my endless rambles on anything gaming related, or especially with racing, we got the end of next month, the Forza Horizon 5 expansion, the second expansion coming out for rally racing. So looking forward to that. Just follow me on Twitter or on YouTube at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on FSP later on tonight on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right back here on Double Barrel Gaming, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Breakfast with Boom. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Thank you very much, brother. Definitely appreciate it. And folks, again, before you get on out of here, please hit the like button. Please hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And once again, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for all of the incredible super chats that come in. The channel memberships have grown. We are at 132 members, which is amazing for a small channel. So thank you so much for being a part of the growth, both, financially, because it does allow us to do the big giveaways. And we did a couple of really big ones last year. We want to continue that in 2023. And also when we need new equipment, like last year, I needed a new mic. I got it. Last year, I needed programs to help put these thumbnails together. I got it. I needed lighting. I got it. And that's thanks to all of you and your generosity. And we are incredibly grateful for it. And of course, folks, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.